Welcome to the Full Nielsen. Today I'm going to be doing a review on the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. I've heard a lot of great things about this knife, so I decided to go out and buy one for myself and see if they really live up to the hype. So far I'd say I'm pretty impressed, and today I'm going to talk about the things that I like and don't like about this particular knife. So the things that I like the pocket clip. It's probably the best pocket clip I've had on any pocket knife that I've owned. It allows for you to carry the pocket knife quite deep in the pocket, and it also, because of the way they have drilled out this handle, allows you to move the pocket clip so that you can carry the pocket knife tip up or tip down with the pocket clips on either side of the knife. I think that's an excellent design. Another thing that I really like about the knife are the G10 handles. The G10 handles are textured, they provide great durability and really good traction in hand. So I'm really fond of the G10 handles on this particular knife. I also like the big lanyard hole, because if you're into putting a lanyard on your pocket knife, which I'm not, but if you're into that, it provides plenty of room to be able to slide multiple pieces of paracord through the lanyard hole. So I think that's an excellent design if you're into putting a lanyard on your pocket knife. Now, the blade material on this particular knife is S30V, which I think is an excellent choice for a pocket knife because it provides really good corrosion resistance and good edge retention. So I really like the blade material. I also like the blade shape on this knife, which is full flat ground, and it has this really delicate tip. Now, if you plan on using your knife as a screwdriver to pry open cans, this is not a really good blade shape for that type of task. I would look for a heavier duty type blade shape. But where this blade shape really excels is for everyday cutting tasks. So if you open packages, if you use this for food preparation, if you use this to gut a fish or take care of an animal, things like that, if you're into hunting or fishing, this blade shape is really well suited for all of those types of tasks, and that delicate tip contributes a great deal to how capable the knife is when it comes to a lot of those tasks. So I really like the blade shape on this particular knife. Now, the other thing that I really like about this knife is the feel in hand. With these G10 handles, you can see it's contoured to your hand, so you can hold it here, or you can choke up on it. And because of the jimping that's on the top of the blade and on the bottom side of the blade, you can take this finger here, put your thumb here, and you can choke up on the knife like this. Holding this knife in either of those configurations is quite comfortable, and I really like the feel in hand that this particular knife offers. I also like the jimping that they've put on the back of the top of the blade, like I mentioned, and on the bottom of the blade, because it makes it to where when you choke up on the knife, you still have a really good purchase. You're not worried about your fingers or your hand slipping off that jimping and sliding up on the blade and cutting yourself at all with this jimping that they've put on here. So I really like the jimping that they've put on the knife. Now, the deployment. The deployment is good to excellent. If you have one of these that is loose enough to where you can just flick it open, then the deployment is excellent. In my situation, I've had to tighten up some of the screws tight enough to the point that the deployment, I would say, is good. Like, it still opens smooth, but most of the time I open it like you just saw me open it right there, where I just put my thumb in the hole and open it. So you can still operate it one hand, but mine's tight enough that it's difficult to just flick open with a great deal of consistency. Now, the aesthetics of the knife, I really like the aesthetics of this knife. I didn't think I would be that fond of having a giant hole in my blade, but if you're only going to use it for cutting tasks, you're not going to use it for heavy duty tasks, some of the tasks you may use a fixed blade for, I don't feel like that hole in the blade is really a major drawback, and the aesthetics have kind of grown on me over time. I do like the aesthetics of the knife. So that's kind of comes down to personal preference, but I do like the aesthetics. Now, to get into the one major negative that this pocket knife has, and that is blade play. The reason why I've tightened up some of these screws is because ever since I've owned this knife, it's had blade play. And I kind of have to choose between how much blade play I want and how easy I want the knife to be able to be deployed, or how easy I want it to be able to open. And that's because if I have this loose enough to where I can just flick it open and close, then I've got oodles of side-to-side blade play. If I tighten it up to take most of that out, then I end up with a knife that's more difficult to open. Now, I've been able to eliminate the side-to-side blade play to a certain extent. There's still some there, and unless I tighten it to the point to where I cannot even open and close the knife, there will always be a little bit of side-to-side blade play. But one of the things that quite irritates me is that I have front-to-back blade play. You can kind of hear that maybe, but I've had front-to-back blade play on this knife ever since I owned it as well. So that to me is quite irritating, to spend $105, $110 on a knife and then you end up with blade play. Now, like I said, it's not all bad. Most of the things about this knife, in fact I would say 95% of the things about this knife I really like. I went through all of those things, pretty much every aspect of this knife I really like, but that blade play to me is really irritating. And if I had to give this knife a rating out of 10, blade play would easily make up 2 points, if not more, out of 10. So I'd give this knife an 8 out of 10. If it had no blade play, I might give it a 10 out of 10, just because I'm that fond of all of the other things that this knife does great. Now I know there are some of you out there who have a Spyderco Paramilitary 2 and you don't have any blade play. I'm just giving you guys my experience with this particular Paramilitary 2 that I own. If you guys have any questions or comments, you can leave them in the comment section. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.